pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, guys, thank you for being here today. Like I said, appreciate you being here. A lot of things we hear, but we don't know that we hear the truth. So when we talk today, we want to hear the truth. If you have something you want to say, just let us say it. But if you're going to describe any person, it's just about the page plan, what this is about. If you're going to start ratting on your neighbor or anything like that, this is not the place to do it. There's other ways to resolve issues, stuff like that, but that's not what today's about. I think today's to inform you of what we've been, where we've been, and what's happened since then. So Kent and I started back with Diane, and been some difference of opinions on where the pay plan needs to be. And this is just not road and bridge. This is the pay plan for Marion County. So we figured out we had one, the same person. Tina, was that 4 years ago when she first started this? The lady that we had covered? It's been a while. It's been a while.
At least 3 years.
3 or 4. You was here when she come in. Yeah. So anyway, she studied, gave us a plan, and we looked at it, and to implement it was not feasible to do it all at one time. But yet, she told us we have to do something. So we looked at it. There was some difference in opinions from commissioners. I'm one of them. Diane had her. But we had one that was way below the scale, the average scale, in all departments. Not every one of them, but a few of them. And so we had some that was above, and we had some right on target. But in general, she gives us a feeling that our scales needed to go up. So we tackled that as the best we could, and Jonah and Dave, was you here when we first did? Were you here on the very first time we implemented, or was you here yet?
I think we're still sitting in the seats.
Still sitting in the seats,
Waiting to be
okay, wait for these sworn in. It was real close to that time. So we went ahead with Dave, Kent and Diane, and we put it, and we sort of picked where get up everybody up, the low ones up, to get them up first, get them brought up, and then tackle and then every department, and then tackle it from there on. So that's how we started on this. Can't really say too much more than that. That's how it started. We had things presented to us, and we picked would you say a happy medium, Kent, to go to? Would that be a fair way to say it? So then it was presented and rolled out. Now, there's a lot of things that some positions didn't get. Some did, some didn't. People brought up to scale. I think we've had a couple complaints from different departments already, and since we've implemented it, that somebody was setting, let's just pick $5 for a number. They was setting making $5, but there was some making $3.50 and $4. So those people come up to the $5. Well, the $5 person come in and complained that I didn't get no pay raise. The pay plan to start with was not set to do everybody a raise. It was set to get to an equal number. So that's, some of you may fall in that category right here. I don't know. I know some of you do, because I've heard from some of you. But we have another department too that's already come in that situation where they was setting at a certain rate, the rest of the people was come up to that, and they wasn't happy. So you're not the only department that has complaints about what happened. With that being said, I'm going to sort of let any commissioner here that would like to add something to this at this point before we start. Anybody wants to say anything from the commission side?
Yeah. Just wanted to, not, what he had said about not running somebody else down is because this is an open forum, it's a public, and that gets into a personnel issue. So it's not that we don't want to shut you down from saying something, it's a legality thing. The other thing is what you all should know is that the big plan, I think, was just shy of 180,000 increase to our budget. So we're looking at one and some change in the middle increase to the budget just to implement what we did do. So we're talking not just a small amount of money, it was a substantial amount of money that we have to answer to the taxpayers for. So just some inside information.
Anybody else?
Well, like Randy said, when we started out this together, and there just wasn't a good, we weren't all on the same page where we needed to be. We know the market is dictating a certain amount. That's just life nowadays. But we have to take into effect that some of that market is pay only. Whereas our market here with the county employees is not just pay, it's benefits. So it's been hard for people to compare apples to apples when it comes to that. But I think that we've tried to be as fair as we could to our employees, knowing there needed to be changes. But like Jonah said, we have to answer to the taxpayers, and it is a sizable amount of money. So, we're looking at the fairness side of it, knowing that we all know what the cost of living is doing to us right now. Everybody's feeling that. So, we want to try to be as fair as we can through all of the departments, and with all the different job descriptions that we have, it can be a little bit of a bumpy ride trying to get there. So anyway,
okay. I will say that this plan does not have no longevity part to it. Some people say longevity is we heard that years ago. We implemented a longevity plan. I don't think, from what I saw in the county when we did that plan, some people got this, some people got this, some didn't get anything. Longevity to try and implement is a tough part to do. I didn't like the plan personally. I mean, I didn't agree with it because I saw what happened to everybody, and it just wasn't. And some part of that old plan too was if you started a new position, your longevity started then from that department. Well, that longevity is from the day you start for a company to the day you're working. And so that's part of the reason why I didn't like what happened and things like that at that time. Now, with the current pay plan that you have, we have a raise step plan coming in July. July of 22, we have a step plan, so everybody, correct, Tina? Am I correct? Everybody was, except unless they are at the top of your pay scale. If you're at the top of the pay scale, you probably will not get a pay raise in July. But that's a step plan. This plans that we have is anywhere from 1 to 12 or 1 to 10 steps, I believe. Is that correct? Somewhere in that neighborhood?
I thought I remember doing 15.
Is it 15?
There's 12.
12, somewhere in there. So that kind of things, that's going to happen in July. And that's, if I remember right, that's not going to be for the whole county. It's not going to be a small pay increase. I mean, for the total amount, it's not going to be small. So, with that being said, I'm going to open it up to questions. I want to hear some good questions, and if you have a viewpoint that, like your 1, 2s, and 3s, I'd like to hear a fair assumption of what you think about the 1, 2s, and 3s. We know that some of this, just group 3 has been in a deal for years because we've had a crane. And that was, you didn't make a grade 3 or group 3 employee till you had crane experience. And how much do we use the crane? So are we at fault for not saying, looking at something else? I think we will. I think there's a lot of things we need to look at because, and because the outside market's working on us right now. I mean, truck driving, that's one for instance, grader operators. So to look at the outside market and bring that in, the person that we did, or the group that we did hire, they had to be eligible to do every department, and they had meetings with every department. Now, I don't know how many of you spoke or was even asked to speak with that person. Do you know?
So they did position questionnaires initially, and then they met with the department heads at the time.
Department heads, okay.
There might have been a few employees that were talked to, but mostly it was through the questionnaires.
So,
and Randy, when you say 1s, 2s, and 3s, do you mean equipment operator 1, equipment operator 2, and equipment operator 3?
Yeah. When we approve the new pay plan.
Yeah, so we are there for that. But not when we
Not
initial.
the additional. Not the additional. Okay.
I think we forced the issue.
Okay. So, I'm going to open it up. Like I said, if I feel that anything's getting out of line, I'm going to shut you up, and we're going to be meeting will be over with. I'm not going to listen to anybody complaining unless it's about, you know, structure or something like that, or bring up a valuable concern of how what we need to listen to make the pay plan comfortable with everybody. So, just everybody raise your hands and they just jump right up and start asking questions, and I'll call you Wade.
Okay, so why didn't seniority pay or play any part in this new plan?
That's not what the plan was decided. It was after looking at the job you do and what it fits the pay plan.
I'm in step 4, I believe. Others that are been here 3 years in seniority or in 5. You know, some are down in 1 even, and it just doesn't seem like we were set in correct places.
Are you saying because
I'll never catch up, yeah, with my seniority to that guy that got set up ahead of me.
See if I'm reading right here, Wade.
My 15 years means nothing in this new pay plan.
Correct, so we said longevity means nothing in this pay plan. It's position and what you're doing for the rate of pay.
Okay, but yet you're hiring in people for more money than I make.
That's, if they're put in a position to do that, that would have to be, would it have to be brought to us or supervised?
It was brought to you.
Yeah.
But I can't name names, so I
Right.
can't go there, so. But, you know, why is that right?
Their experience probably set why they was
So
there.
my experience doesn't count for anything.
Your experience sets you in a position wherever you're scaled, that's the way I understand it. You said that's
Well,
correct.
the way that we implemented, which was what the person recommended, so the consultant recommended that longevity, if the board decides to do longevity, it should be completely separate. And the implementation strategy that we were given, based on the cost and everything that the consultant provided, was that nobody would receive a pay reduction, that everybody would be placed on the pay plan in their range at the closest step to what they were making without going down. So if it was within 5 cents, we just kept it in that one, but if it was, you were further than 5 cents from this step, they would go to the next pay step. So I'm not sure, so that's how it was implemented. Everybody's just been put onto the schedule based on where they were before. And I'm not 100%.
And there's no way to jump steps then, now.
Everybody moves through steps. on an annual basis with this
Right.
new plan.
That's what I say, nobody can jump a step being qualified.
Well, I mean, as far as, that's one thing that probably needs to be looked at is the job descriptions, and if there's any other, a career path where you can move through the steps or the ranges. But it's based right now on what the position is that you're in. So of course, a 1, a 2, and a 3 are different ranges. And I don't know specifically what the situation is that you're talking about as far as an individual
Well,
being
there's
hired
several
in,
of
but.
us in operator 2s that are just as qualified as the operator 3s.
Okay.
But we're not getting paid that, so
So
there's
that,
no way to get that corrected, it seems like.
is that okay if I keep
Yeah,
talking?
yeah.
Okay, so that,
Yeah, I'm,
If you had the qualifications for operator 3, you should have been an operator 3, but that requires a certification
Guys,
on crane. That's the way it
There's
was.
plenty of guys that don't run the crane, never have, that are above an operator 3s.
and that's one thing that needs to be looked at on is the job descriptions and how you're able to move from a 1, 2, 3. And that is something that, I mean, to correct me if I'm out of turn, but I think that the board is very interested in looking at that to
We've
make
heard
sure
some
that it's
discussion on this.
objective.
but grade 3 has always consisted of a crane operator.
But it hasn't been that way for years.
Well,
Well, I think,
You've got several operator 3s that have never touched that crane.
I may be wrong, but I thought the job description,
Yeah, you got one guy in here that's certified for a crane.
the job description showed crane in there, but I didn't think it had to be, I think it had to be the majority of the job description minus 1 or 2 elements. And it would be considered a 3.
Not yet, yes.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah,
it's,
that's something that needs to be addressed for sure, is the way that we go through the job descriptions.
That changed.
so we are working on it, I'm just confused on what, then or now.
well, and this is what we want to hear. We want to hear that so that we hear it.
Because I've been here just about 16 years now. There's 14 less people in this room just from River Bridge. And you're expecting us to do the same work. But yet, you don't want to adjust any pay.
That's not the way it should, not the way we're saying this.
But
You can take that the way you want, but that's not what we're saying. We're saying we need to look at it. That's why we're here today to look.
so when are we going to look at it? That's part of what this meeting should have been about.
We've heard your complaint, we appreciate it, and we'll listen to it and look at it, because we've heard about it here recently.
Because there's gonna get less, I have a feeling, if things don't change some.
Well,
I hate to say that.
I think everybody's hearing that, so.
Just throw one piece in there.
Yeah.
We have some less people in here, you're correct. But something that we've been looking at is contract trucking too. Not to tend to go that way, but it's kind of finding out gonna be that way.
So you're gonna contract somebody to run the grid or I run the grid?
No, trucking.
Because that's what you're indicating.
No, not indicating the greater contract trucking.
Well,
We've been contract trucking a lot over the last couple of years, as y'all know.
Just so you know, we're not just sitting on the wages that aren't being paid out. We're gonna have to be used somewhere else to help accommodate.
what are the wages for those other 14 people getting booked?
It probably will have to wind up, if things keep going the way they are, we'll have to go to a contract, right? Because we gotta have somebody trucking.
Well, you won't have anybody upgrading.
This is why we're here today. Are you done with the 15 years? Or are you just talking about something else now?
So,
Okay.
So what I wrote down from your comments was the job descriptions need to be reviewed.
Yes.
And then that you have less personnel, more work, and the feeling of no compensation for that. Are there was there anything else that you had on your list?
Well, there's more certifications out here than what you guys ever give us credit for. So,
I don't agree with you. I do not agree with you, okay? I just don't. I think all of us that's why we're here, to listen to what's eating on everybody, what's happening, so we can look at it. And you're giving us no chance to do that. So, next person.
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
Okay, I guess my question is, so like when I started, there's a lot less employees. So if you take 10 employees short, say an average of 30,000, that's $300,000. Why couldn't some of that money be given to some of us as raises so you keep your good employees? Where is that $300,000? That's one part of the question. I have more.
Okay, keep trying to go.
The question is market analysis. This is from salary.com and graders across the whole nation. 10% make $15 an hour. 50% make $22. 90% make 31. So like us operator twos, I've been here 5 years. I'm the bottom 10% of the pay grade across the nation. I have a CDL. Average CDL around Marion is $39,000 a year. I'm not expected to make those kind of wages, but I don't think I should be in the bottom 10%. I don't think that's a fair wage. Dave says, want to give you a fair wage? I don't feel that's a fair wage.
Well, that market analysis, is that from government or is that from the work construction field?
Salarycup.com.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, well then I got more for you. Here's Salina. I couldn't pull up anything. Look, here's what they make. 10%, $29,000 a year. 25%, $36,000. And then Hutchison, I have one here from Hutchison. So there is some local
Yeah.
pay grades here.
I'm talking government versus private industry.
This is
That's-
across the board.
Yeah, if they've got government in there, basically our deal was, she took some outside sources and showed us that, but she also showed us what other governments is paying for these
Well, I
things.
saw that in Person County a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago. They started 15.50 to 16.25 if you have a CDL. That's what they start at. So they're making, I know their economic situation is different, but that's really not, as an employee, that's not totally my issue, because I feel I should be competitive. The other thing I want to bring up, it's a little bit off different than pay, if I could, is I noticed this morning on the news, KDOT is saying how they're not going to be able to cover roads. Well, I got a section to the south of me, I got a section to the east of me. There's no road grade right now. And there's another section here around Marion. This winter, like if I have to open the blacktops, I can't get my section open in 12 hours. So in these other sections, school buses aren't going to be going. Post office isn't running. People aren't going to get to their jobs. I feel the public needs to be made aware of what we're up against. Like KDOT is.
Yeah.
So people know, I heard one commissioner say a while back, gotta be more with less. Now, let me tell you,
Not here no more, right?
no, this commissioner sitting here in the room, I won't name any names, but we're doing more when we went from 100 miles to 130. At some point, it's not possible. And we're there, let me tell you. I mean, we're doing all we can. But the public just needs to be aware of that. You know what we're up against. That's all.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When is your market information from? What dates?
I just printed it off the internet.
So it's like right now?
Yeah, it's
Because
2021.
it has changed, and our market information was not that recent, so, okay. Thank you.
Loyal, was that total package or was that just pay? Does it say on there?
That I'm not sure. It's a good question.
You know, I just was wondering, because a lot of times in the private industry side, it's pretty much paid.
But I will say though, as far as benefits, I hear ads on the radio every day, $20 an hour, CDL truck driver, the insurance totally paid, so I know the county has some benefits, but a guy like me that's been here 5 years, when I retire, I can be fully vested at 64, it'll be $300 a month from Capers with me, because I haven't been here 20, 30 years. So that's not really a big benefit to me. So,
Well, I
Yeah.
never said do more with less.
yeah, you have.
But I was always referring to technology.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
So I was never saying that you gotta do more. I'm just saying we've gotta get more.
Bigger equipment.
Well, out of the technology, so we can cover it. No, no.
Stick with it.
No, I just remembered, so I
Yeah,
want to
okay.
own up to it.
Next.
President?
KDOT's hiring right now for 1656 an hour for a CDL driver.
How much?
1656 an hour.
I was like, Lord, I heard that this morning, what they was talking about on TV, they started 15. It's
Non-CDL driver.
non-CDL, okay.
Look it up on the internet.
No. Well, in the last 2 years, what has the market done? I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
Everything. McDonald's, $12 an hour, that was 6 and 7 2 years ago, before COVID. So, everything's going up. I'm not denying that.
So that's, I looked it up this morning right on KDOT's website.
I got a couple of questions here. You said a 15-step program, is that annually an increase or 15 steps as far as the pay plan?
12.
12.
Well,
But I think there is.
How does that work exactly? I mean, when, you said July of next year, but then we have to wait until next July? I mean, is that an annual thing or how
haven't
does that
seen it?
play? I haven't. Can you just briefly
how many
describe
have
that?
you seen that program?
It's posted in
Yeah.
Strictly,
How does the steps work? What?
The way it's designed is, it is based on an annual increase in
So that's
July.
every year?
So every year, as long as commission approves it and there's budget, then everybody should get a one-step increase each July unless somebody's completely maxed out, which I don't believe anyone in this department is completely maxed out.
Is each step a year?
Yes.
Well.
No, I mean, it's
no.
not based on years at all, because we're
Then,
not.
for those steps to go up, we have to adjust that too. Those steps should move up.
The steps will move if there's a cost of living adjustment.
Correct.
And that, it doesn't ever say anywhere in there that the commission can't give a cost of living. In fact, it recommends an annual step increase in July and cost of living as appropriate in January. And anytime there would be a cost of living, then the steps, the ranges move up as well with that, by that percent. But as for 2022, there was not a cost of living raise figured in because they were trying to get everybody on the new schedule and then allow for that July increase for everyone.
The first time she presented it to us, the bottom 2 steps, I believe her recommendation then, the lady that did this, said those bottom 2 steps should be gone and we should start at 2 steps up and take them off the scale and move up. So she found us right off the get-go 2 to 3 years ago that we were down on our steps, down on the scale, and we should move up. So that was her recommendation then.
Where do we start then? Do we start at 1 or do we start at 3 on the steps?
Everybody started as close to where they were already
Right.
as possible. So we moved everybody,
So
we put
some
everybody on the
some
plan
could be a lot.
where they were.
Some could be a 5, yeah, some could be a 3, some could be a 7. So
They went by their qualifications or?
of that person, yes.
No, it went by the pay.
What was done was, it was based on the old, where you were on the old pay plan. We put you on the closest step in the new pay
Your
plan.
position set that where you went to? I mean, besides in your pay that you're getting, that's set that.
So you just hired in. You got hired in at a lower rate. The people that's been hired in the last 3 years have been way above where we started. So they're ahead of us. There's people on step 5, I'm on step 4.
And you're saying grade.
So, there's people that, I can run about anything else can in here.
So you're saying your grade's not right, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
He's doing two.
Well, I know where he's at, I'm just saying, that's what, I'm trying to get him to tell me what his problem is, and he's saying his staff is not right where he is.
All I'm saying is, people have been operators, and I know longevity has nothing to do with it, for 2 years are on step 5, and the people who've been here forever are on step 4, which I know what you're saying, but it's not fair for people who've been here forever.
Okay.
You have the same qualification to do the
Yeah,
tax.
we've got people 15 to 16 years, and people that's got 2 years in the same grade, and the 2-year guys are making more than the 15 years guys.
Okay. Hey, you looked at that.
One of my other questions here was kind of a statement more than anything else. I know we have operator 1, 2, and 3, and I know we've kind of looked at the job descriptions per position. But I'd like to ask some guys around here, do you guys know the difference between, right now, the qualifications are for an operator 2 versus an operator 3? I mean, do you guys have a goal list or some kind of piece of paper saying, okay, in order for me to become an operator 3, I need to learn how to do this, this, and this before I can become an operator 3. So that doesn't set any kind of goal for them to advance if they don't have to have it. See what I'm saying? In other words, they don't know that they have to operate that piece of machine. And I think that comes down to our job description, and we need to post that in our office, wherever, as far as what needs to be done for me in order to advance myself and make more money. I need to know what equipment I need to learn. And instead of having, I don't, I've got 20 years of just driving a motor grader, but if I learn how to run the backhoe, or if I learn how to run an oil distributor, if I start learning these things, I can advance. But I don't think we have any kind of structure to help us do that right now. And I don't know if that would be a help for us, to help us get on board, to help us advance.
I think it sounds to me like it needs to be part of a package that goes to everyone right now, and then anybody that's a new hire should get that package when they start. So they know right up front, okay, this is what I need to do in order to move up qualification-wise.
That's just a suggestion, I don't know, it's something to look at anyway, because, I mean, I'm sure half of these guys think, well, I know how to run that, but are they gonna classify that as a qualification for the?
But none of you have ever gotten a form that says, that says that?
There really isn't anything
There-
existing right now. And so that's one of the recommendations that the consultant gave, was to develop a career path and update the job descriptions. And I think that it's vital that that is done,
Yeah, I mean,
because
that's-
people do have to know how they can advance. So that's,
That's information you need, that's for sure.
but that's where, we've got, I mean, it's kind of a phased thing, because they gave a lot of recommendations. But you guys put the pay part in process as soon as you possibly could, but there are other things that still need to be followed up. And the job descriptions, not just in the Road and Bridge department, but all the departments really need to be updated. But that's just something that has not occurred yet. And specifically, they do need to be able to tell and be objective, not willy-nilly, about how people move up. Yeah.
Going on that, I mean, would it have to have a paper trail of, you write down this day, I ran this machine for this many hours, then your department head has to sign for it to move up to the next grade? Instead of just saying, oh yeah, I can do that, say you get so many hours of training on that machine, then we can go finish that, let's just say operator 2 to 3, I mean, is that something you want to do, or just?
Well, I think we expect who's ever in charge, sitting back there, to go by what we have set on paper. And if that helps to explain why, when somebody comes up and asks for John Doe to get either hired in or raised in pay, stepped up or something, I think that's probably a necessity to I mean, because I know I can look at every one of you guys' faces and I can tell you where I see you at. I see a whole bunch of you out here running a whole lot of different things. So when you say that, I understand what you're saying. But Group 3 has been this crane deal, and personally I think, how much do we use the crane? How much have we used in the last 5 years? Maybe very little that I know of. I mean, there's been a few times we have, but I'm thinking that, in my personal feelings, is that somewhere we need to look at what the experience you got, the equipment we got. The crane should be over here or something else. I mean, maybe if we have to send anyone, a person A, B, or C to operate that crane, we keep it, maybe they should get some extra pay, but that should be separate. Because most of the equipment that we run is, everybody's out here, well, there's a few of you that I don't see running some things, but most of everybody runs most of the equipment that I see, so that's, yeah, right.
Well, I don't know whether these guys understand that, but as part of our discussions we've had in the commission meeting is, I've actually recommended a way to go from that 1 to 2 to 3. And that was part of the directive that you guys had given me. We've kind of been put that on hold until we had this meeting to get more information. But that was one of the things I was looking at, is based on a 1, you should be able to run this, a 2 this, and 3 this.
And
so,
with that being said, like you just said, Preston, you said piece of paper. To run a backhoe, should you, what kind of what should be, okay, I'm a qualified backhoe operator. Who should set that? Should one of those 2 supervisors be able to say, yes, he's a qualified backhoe operator, or he's the one out here learning?
I mean, like I said, you go through training, because obviously our main culvert foreman is the one on site all the time, watching and teaching the new guy. And I don't see why he couldn't be the one to write, sign off saying, you got 8 hours this day, as long as you're progressing forward. Once you get so many hours, like, I feel you're confident you can do this by yourself. Let's move on to the next machine.
Make one more comment. I wish there wasn't such a large gap, I feel, between the 2s and the 3s. I know they can run a little bit, maybe a few more things, or this or that, or maybe sometimes not. And I feel like that shouldn't be such.
Yeah, it should be smart.
Yeah.
Like, kind of thing I see, being a mechanic, which a couple weeks ago I had to go help the road crew because we were so short-handed. I mean, I don't say I'm going one way or the other, but I mean, having to do so much different things, where's the, I don't want to say incentive or whatever, but they're like, I don't have a plan to upgrade like that. So,
You personally?
Yeah.
Because that's not what you was
Yeah,
hired.
it's like, I'm a mechanic, I'm not, but get so short-handed, have to start hauling, like I've had to learn to run the low boy tractor trailer, if they're gone, move equipment, stuff like that. And like I said,
How many of those people do we have in here in this room right now? That's just another piece of equipment to look at. I know a couple, but how many sets here that runs a low boy? 4. See, that's another piece of equipment that's not on our pay plan. That I know of, that I've read about. So that's something
It
else.
sounds to me like that Bryce needs to put together what we've been talking about. Bring it and get it to commission so we can discuss it and ratify it or turn it down or whatever.
well, and honestly, that's the low boy is in that group, because not everyone with a CDL, you're essentially supposed to have the endorsements to go with it. But the other thing is, that along with that plan is that it would be nice to have more training to be able to, like Preston said, hey, can you, how well can you run or can you operate a piece of equipment? There's a difference, moving it compared to everything else. that always comes into that subjective range is, well, I think you can, well, I don't think you can. But anyway, getting past that, but I will tell you, and I told these guys right off the bat, I gave every one of them a personal thank you, because I can't think of one of these guys that didn't do something this year that was normal for them. Section men driving trucks, you know, whatever else, our sections were hurting. You know, these guys are right, you know, they're doing more and more with less, and sometimes it, you know, it feels that way. But I think with the other thing that I've looked at is we have equipment 1, 2, and 3 operators. Do those job descriptions fit everyone in here? No. My other thought was, okay, based on experience and everything else, say, do we come up with a, whatever you want to call it, junior section man compared to senior section man, or whatever else? Is there some way that we can make these position descriptions that are a little bit more geared specifically toward these people, and then we could adjust the pay according to that? That's the other thing that we face is there are 6 of one, half dozen of the other, because I've talked to people about these different position descriptions, and they say they like the 1, 2, 3 better, but I'm wondering whether it goes the other way. So anyway, that's something to look at. But I mean, the plan that I've originally approached you about, I think that's something that we could do right away, or after a little bit of discussion, or whatever else.
Are you saying though, under what you've described to us, when it comes to training, that it needs to be a disinterested third party that comes in and says, he's qualified?
No, just the opposite. And the fact is, to give more opportunity for people to learn and operate this equipment in a special situation, because you know, a lot of times they may need to be working somewhere else. Well, we've talked about motor grader training. You know, everybody really enjoyed that, and you know, we think that is definitely a benefit. We just haven't done it. You know, is there a backhoe training, or maybe we have one day that we just said, hey, everybody's going to go operate a backhoe. You know, I mean, it just comes down to the fact is that we have to give them the opportunity.
With the way we're structured right now, you're never going to find that day.
Well, you know, no, we just make that day. Plain and simple is we have to, you know, when it comes to training.
You have safety meeting, right?
Well, yeah, and like I said, we've talked about that.
That's typically how we would incorporate into training. We would find a safety aspect.
Yeah.
And then get our training and our safety done at the same time.
Sure, but I mean, that's the thing is, we've got so many things out there that we could be training on, but like you said, we don't have the time to do that, but we have to make the time if we're gonna do it.
I'm gonna go back to one of Wade's statements and ask, in general here, how, you say somebody's being hired in at a high rate. Let's take, I think I know this man's background, just pick on Mo for a little bit here. I think you've run equipment that's even in your own business, the way I heard it, and stuff like this. Don't know if your qualifications, what they met at the time you come in or anything like that, but what I'm getting at is if the person, not just Lowell, but if somebody comes in and they have, how would you feel about that person, even though you know that they've run a piece of equipment somewhere else? How would you feel them getting hired, and maybe they got hired at either the same wage or something else? I don't know. I'm just trying to get an aspect from what you think we should do when somebody applies for a position in our county.
If they're qualified, we don't have a fee. But the joke around here now is if we need to quit and wait 6 months, hire back in, and we'll jump up $1.
But I'm just talking about the qualified person. At that time, you don't feel that there's any problem if they're qualified.
If they're qualified.
Okay. Okay.
If they're qualified, that's fine, but what about going back to the longevity deal? You've been here all these years, and you do the exact same thing that person is that gets hired in, they're making the exact same money as you are.
And
That's what a lot of people are running with.
Yeah, and I come from a whole different field. Every field that I've come from, longevity means nothing. You work to get a position, you get that position, and
But if you've been in that position for all them years, and then a brand new person comes in and is making the exact same money you are, is that fair?
The outside world, it's fair.
Right.
Yes, and I can guarantee you railroad's that way, I can guarantee you that the gas company I work for
But
is
the
that way.
county used to not be that way. That's what we're all.
Well, the longevity plan has only been since we had it,
Been here for 16 years.
might have been when, I don't know if it's that long, maybe. I know we implemented, Dan and I, and Superstation, we implemented it with back then, so there was no longevity plan. There was a complaint that nobody was getting any longevity, so we implemented it, and that's what happened. It got willy, what her words are, willy-nilly.
Didn't it used to be like 10, 15, and 20? Wouldn't that kind of deal add one time, or am I not?
I think it's,
I think so.
I think there could have been something to that effect, yes, I think there was.
Do they still do that, or not?
No, there's nothing in there. Dave has to leave, he told me he had to leave at 1:32, go back to the pod today.
He said he wouldn't back.
Play with the nurses, I'm sorry, guys.
Thank you, Dave. Anything you remember?
We used to do a 6-month and 1 year
Right.
increase, which we don't do that now
Right.
with the new plan. And then 5 years, 10, 15, 20,
Was the,
25, and it went, I think it went up to 35 every 5 years, if I remember right.
what did they get with that?
It was a step.
It all depends on where you were in your pay scale as to what
Right,
you got.
and if you had already
Sometimes,
moved beyond,
I
right.
think when I hit 20, I got nothing, because
Yeah,
I was
is it-
already at the top of my
The
pay scale.
pay plan hit that?
Yeah,
I
so-
already,
I was already at the top.
Yeah, so the way that the longevity plan that we had, which wasn't really true longevity, worked was that, you know, if you had gotten merit raises or other kinds of raises that moved you up, if you were already where you should have
That's
been based on that 20-year step, when you hit 20 years, there is no increase.
Right.
And so that's one thing that the consultant said, you know, that's why you don't want longevity tied to your base wages. It should be, if it's implemented, a separate amount that's not a part of the base wages. And so, because then it does get to where if you've worked 20 years and you've been a good performer and you've already gotten to that point, you don't get anything, and that's not really a reward for longevity.
there was a whole bunch of people that qualified for what you just said. Clerks that have been in position for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I can think of 2 of them in the courthouse, not in either one of these departments that's here today. But they've already been in that position, and when they come to their step, their years, it didn't mean nothing because they was already at the top of the
Right,
pay
correct.
grade, you know. We did have that before,
Right.
yeah. So, there was something like that.
Yeah.
Next question. Steve.
Seems like every year we do a personal evaluation. Does that have any kind of influence or anything with our current pay plan that we got going on right now?
We evaluate and see how when we look at them, see if somebody's getting, what kind of score they're getting, but it does not affect the pay plan right now.
Okay.
It has been mentioned though.
Right, I mean, unless the board would give a performance-based raise, which they have done a few times in the past. They've done a raise based on the evaluation, but it gets really complex because there's.
I'll take this part.
Yeah,
It gets
that
really
would-
complex because we have lead people, supervisors, that no matter what they do, everybody's gonna get 100. So are they evaluating anybody? No, they're not evaluating anybody, no matter what. It's, everybody gets 100. Then we have some that is down here and up here between department heads. We never get a level field of judgment. I mean, it's tough to get a supervisor from one department to feel that. And the same rate will happen when we give one department certain position a raise because that department head has come in and said, my person is worth X amount of money. No beating the bush, that's what they're worth, and that's what I want for them. So they beat the commission up a little bit, and the commission gives in. Well, then the next department comes over and says that, oh, I've got 2 people like that. So it's, what I've seen for my 17, 18 years here, is I've seen a ball game where when we do something, give one person a raise for that one position, 2 more department heads will usually come in and tell us that they have a person just like that, so they want their person to get that raise.
So is there any reason why we're doing evaluations anymore? I mean,
Well, I think that comes into just you have a trail if you have a problem.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
What if instead of having an actual evaluation at the end of the year, we go to that certain individual that we're evaluating and ask them, okay, you've completed these steps this year. You've trained on the backhoe, you've trained on the lowboy, you've trained, and you're all qualified now on this. So this should qualify you for an operator too. Is that something that we could possibly implement? You know it?
Everybody's hearing it, Steve. I mean, this is what it's for.
What about the person that's already got all that? What do you tell them at the end of the year?
That's something we need to look at. I'm just throwing things out, ideas, guys. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're here for, because somebody said we don't care. That's why we're here today. We do care.
That's why I say some supervisors gotta make the determination that that person is qualified on all those pieces. And we just turn it in, if Bryce doesn't do it, somebody has to turn it in to Bryce and bring it to us.
And you wind up on a slippery slope that way too, because.
I was gonna say, and are you gonna give them the pay raise then if they get this?
That's why I was asking, do we have to need a disinterested third party to say, that guy's qualified and that guy isn't?
There's no perfect solution, but how do we get to the best?
It's, if you set through those evaluations, I mean, that's, when it comes to evaluation time, and you go look, and that's why I just want to bring out that I wish we could get everybody, every evaluator to have 100% means this, 75, I'm just using percent, 75% means this, 50% means this, 30, whatever, to where it's the same in your department as it's the same in the clerk's department, same in the ambulance department. If you're a sub-performer and not performing, where does that come in? I mean, not that we're after that person, but we want them to improve.
Does everybody understand who is doing the evaluation on them? Because
We gotta do-
the department head is doing the evaluation on you. We do the evaluation on the department head.
And then our department head does an evaluation on us, we gotta do a self-evaluation on ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I think is foolish. I mean, you can write down there anything you want. I mean,
But I will tell you, not, in the past, in the last few years, we've had a department head that didn't understand the evaluation, so they let the employees turn that in to us, do the evaluation. So that had to be corrected. And that's why I said, this evaluation is a tough process, and to get everybody on the same page to evaluate the same way. So, but we're here to Rose Ridge. Going through. Yeah.
You guys keep talking about a disinterested, second party to say who's qualified to run stuff. I mean, technically, not to put more weight on Steve, but positions like Steve's, like we used to have a culvert supervisor, we had a road supervisor, then we had Jesse, so on. Well, you got those people that, like, for example, Steve sees what a lot of us are running. He knows what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So technically our bosses should be.
Yeah, I was just asking that.
They should be the ones they should see what we're
In case
doing.
employees thought there might be a
Right.
conflict of interest or something like that by having your supervisor or whatever.
Well, but and I understand where you're coming from with that, but with somebody other than our supervisor, they're not gonna see us as much as our supervisor.
No, I fully agree with you there.
Like the guys working with me on culverts, I see them running the equipment, and then I, tell Steve or Bryce, well, they're doing good, they did this today, and they have the opportunity to actually see it. Yeah, there's that slippery slope with the favoritism or
Yeah,
whatever.
because the way you're describing it, you're being evaluated pretty much daily. Whereas if you brought in a disinterested third party, you'd have several pieces of equipment sitting out here, and you'd be with that disinterested person,
Yeah, but
taking a
it-
test, basically.
That doesn't need to
Well,
work
yeah.
with you tomorrow.
Well, and I understand that, but at the same time, we'd have to take time away from,
Right.
the work we need to do.
Yeah.
Just come out here and prove to a guy.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I agree with you.
I think it's a matter of documentation, like Preston was saying earlier. I mean, those people that are seeing what the staff is doing every day, if they just have a way to document that throughout the year, not trying to do it all at once, that's something that really should be occurring.
Bryce's arm getting tired.
That's all right. Well, I can tell you in my career, I've been involved with evaluations pretty much my whole career. I have told these guys, and I would tell anybody, I take them very seriously. As set up in the position description that you gave me, I supervise all these people. I visit with them, every one of them, at the evaluation period. Part of the reason we do these self-evaluation is I would rather have someone look at themselves first to see what they think they're doing right, what they could work on, whatever else. I pretty much know that too. But I've also told them too this, I will do the best I can to evaluate them based on what I've seen and heard. But I also want the same thing from them if they see me do something wrong. They do have a point, and the fact is the objective reasoning is they don't mean anything. Because your raise does not, well, your pay is typically not rated on that. It can be in the past, but then you get to the point of, okay, well, you've done better, you deserve more than him, well, you just like them better. It is an objective way of rating people based on that, and like I said, the way it's set up, I do, Steve and I and everybody else, we talk amongst each other as to what's going on, but I wholeheartedly believe in them because it's a way to document what you've done, what you haven't done, and what you want to do in the future. And every one of them in their expectations for this year, we document two things that we agreed for them to work on in the next year. So, it is what it is. There has to be some way of documenting that, both good and bad. And I'm the same way. When I get an evaluation, I think to myself, man, I should be rated higher than that. But I look at the fact is that's what other people have looked at me and kind of opens my eyes to, okay, was that right or wrong? And again, I don't know what else to say, but I take them very seriously.
I got a question. How many of you in this room would say you're very comfortable with the job you do and would love to continue to get a decent raise in pay or stay in pay? Now, with that being said, Lowell, you give us this study there, and it's all above us. How many of you feel that we commissioners try to stay with the people that elect us too much? I mean, what I'm getting at is, we know that we need to raise somebody to $20 an hour, let's just say, for grader operators. And yet we can't do that because we feel the taxpayers, and every one of you that live in Marion County is a taxpayer or if you own property. So how do you feel about trying to address that situation, not just looking at it from, I want more money? Wait, you're a taxpayer. Yeah. Just give me an idea. How do you feel about it? Cool.
Well, I'd like to address that. I had 3 farmers who wouldn't come in here today saying that we need to raise our pay. I haven't heard anybody say you're making too much. And I know some of these farmers have talked to you because they told me that, not you personally.
Right.
Some commission. So I think when it comes to them being able to get to their fields, getting out in the wintertime, that's pretty important. And I think a adjustment in pay is going to be well justified with the people that you represent.
Any more questions? I just want to throw that in while we talked about a little bit here. Any more questions? But yes.
Well, I'm the only truck driver, and you're talking about contracting all the truck driving out. So I'm thinking about what position do I need to move into to stay with the county? To get out of the dump truck. If you're gonna contract all those truck drivers.
Well,
If we could hire some more truck drivers today, we'd do it.
Where all are we advertising that? Or employment?
county papers, Indeed, I don't know about Indeed, but we've done that now, we've done it before.
Like county, I've never seen a great ad for a year.
And nothing in the Marion record for a road and bridge department position.
Yeah, there has. Here's part of the problem with the advertisement. What media would you get to the most people? The Marion Record, I mean, honestly, or any of the papers. How many people read the paper? Do they go online? It's been listed on Facebook. It's been listed on the county website. We've listed things in Indeed, you know, all over the place. But they, yeah, and we, you know, we've talked about the other thing is, I still say the best way to get people in here is word of mouth. You know, if you like working here, whatever else, that, you know, that's where we're going to get people.
But yet there was some in the Marion Record wanted an engineering firm to do some work on Indigo.
Yes.
That made it in there.
Yes.
What's the difference between that and trying to find people who work at road and bridge? It's required.
It's a requirement.
No,
You know, to me, I won't disagree maybe a little here, but you get one person and one ad, to shape when we need it. Maybe a lot of old people aren't online, and this all this social media stuff. Yeah. So maybe somebody will know somebody. If we get right now, if we get one person, maybe if we just put it in once a month, it's worth it.
I'm gonna ask a guy down here on the end, because I remember when he was just strictly a farmer, and how'd you get the idea to come work with the county?
Myself,
Yeah.
I did it as a second job because the benefits aren't any better than when I had a job at a retail outlet and everything. I will disagree with Mr. Becker there, but it worked with my farming. If I depended on the county job as a sole wage, I would not be here, because I couldn't afford it. I'm sorry.
The difference between now and 17 years ago, or 18 when I started, was there was a whole bunch of this in this department.
Right.
Really thoroughly did it for that, did it for that reason.
At one time, the majority of the department.
But as I look around now, there's very few far
That
less.
does it.
Yeah.
Well, and can I make a statement, and I've said this for the last 3 years, to get an individual trying to raise a family to come work for this county is impossible when you're working off $14 an hour and your insurance is $800 a month. That is a huge reason why we cannot get people to come work here. I'm sorry to say that, but that's a fact. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I'm here because I got tired of being an over-the-road truck driver, and I'm tired of not having a life. But I'm this close to going back because the cost of living is going up so high, I'm getting where I can't afford to live without the extra income. Thank you.
You say that you're gonna contract a lot of the trucking out, isn't that gonna cost more money? And if you raise the wages of the people staying here, I would say you're gonna lose 5 grader guys within the next year. If you have to contract your grading out, what are you gonna have to raise to contract somebody that's gonna come in and grade? Because what are you gonna get? I mean, you're gonna pay it one way or the other, in my opinion, so.
Well, speaking there is just mainly from dollars and cents, right?
Yeah.
So if we paid a higher wage, and I'm not against anybody in here, but going to have trucking. So is it where the grader guys also run the trucks? Is it, I mean, how do we achieve this?
I just have been 3. If you lose 5 more grader guys, what are you gonna do?
4 or 5.
Fill in the gap. Right? If you have 5 grader guys retire within the next year, which is likely.
Yeah.
I mean, are you gonna contract grader positions? I mean,
We don't don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to do that. Either
Or
one.
just like every other business that you drive down the road, it's got the big sign out in front of it.
Yeah, I mean, but it's gonna cost you more money.
Yeah.
It is.
You're not wrong.
We didn't get a truck driver to apply for the $15 or whatever the job was in the transfer department. And so one come along, said he'd take 16, so we decided to move to that. And so.
And then that didn't last.
And it didn't last. And so, but what my point is that there was even, I think there was an employee in Grove Bridge that was thought about it, but didn't do it. How did that, what's your feelings when you seen $16 an hour? I don't know whether any of you was at 16 and didn't want to step down, drive a truck, or was that above some of you guys' truck driving rate?
I went in and talked to Josh about taking that job at 16 an hour, and he didn't even talk to me.
That was before they got off.
Right, right.
What happened to the guy that was 60?
Yeah. And
Just why he quit?
Go get more money somewhere else.
Wait,
No,
That's what I got told.
wait.
I got a question. You keep talking about contract haul.
a day.
I need one load in a mile. How am I gonna get that load? Am I gonna have to wait a month to, you know, and then I may only need 15 ton, not a 25 ton load. How are you guys gonna figure this out?
We're probably gonna say somebody do it.
Yeah, you're gonna,
It's be passed down.
you know, I'm gonna go crawl in the truck and have Dale come over and blade it out for me, is what'll end up happening, but you're taking us away from other things.
From your section.
Right. And so, you know, you've got to remember, every time you keep talking about contract hauling, it isn't just that simple.
Any more questions?
Just throwing this out there, been thinking about it because, you know, I've told these guys that we do have a very good benefits package, insurance, leave, stuff like that. But I've also spent time on the other side to where I know that insurance can cost you more with less benefits. But my question is would it be more beneficial to pay our employees more or reduce the amount that it costs for insurance? Just throwing that out there. I don't
Just ask them
know.
right here.
Yeah, I don't know
Just
what.
leave it at that, Brian.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that.
You know,
I want to hear some
a
comments
lot
on
of this
that.
stuff is just throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, I mean.
In the past, every time we've gotten a raise, we've gotten an increase on our insurance.
Yeah.
The insurance went up
I'm sorry, but that's almost a fact.
went up 21% 2 years ago.
James.
One problem is with family, like this got me in life, is the same price as if we had 10 kids. If I take family insurance.
Yeah, we had one presented to us a few years ago that had a few steps in it, but we
But,
didn't.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of,
Yes, I'm in the same position, I have a kid on the way, and, you know, me and the wife are on insurance, well, you know, we have to see obviously which one's the way to go, but, you know, well, I don't want to spend $750 or whatever for two of us, and, I mean, unfortunately, that's so much of the paycheck, it makes you want to start looking elsewhere, and, I mean, just don't want to, but I mean, if there was a different plan of, you know, hey, cut it in half, or, you know, so much per member, whatever, you know, I mean, that's kind of the big thing that's crossed my mind in the last few months.
How about this, Stephen? We haven't really discussed this too much, but it was thought of a couple times. Is, let's say we're paying, what are we paying, 750 or 800 on the county side for the family?
I'm sorry, I don't have any of that one.
Okay.
Charity.
What the county thinks. But you guys are also paying for a family plan, paying 600 to 700 or
I
right at
thought
700.
a year ago, I was paying about $800 for my wife.
I think the signal's like 150 somewhere in there.
107.
But we paid 400 or 500 or 6 on signal.
See, when I started, that was all paid.
Yeah.
It's still
But
cheap.
would you rather us, I'm just asking, would you rather us pay that amount as long as we seen you as applying it to a company somewhere else? Can you go out and buy cheaper insurance?
Oh, no. No, we can't buy it cheaper, no.
Okay.
I don't think you can, that's where the wage thing comes in, the
just asking.
It just hurts
That's all
that
I'm saying.
paycheck terrible for
Is it $1,000 a month altogether? Is it $1,000 a month for a single, for an individual, or is it 800?
And it's up there, it's 800 and some, I think, so I haven't looked.
I don't know if it helped like younger guys like our new guy there. I mean, if it was, you know, free insurance.
this whole time, and not draw any attention.
I'll throw him under the bus all day. But to get the younger help, because, you know, let's say, you know, we have a lot of guys here. Would that help? Wow. Does that help draw any new employees? Like, you know, if you're under a single plan, we'll pay your insurance. I mean, just the thought of trying to get more.
Jason County still going on too. I talked to Tom earlier about a year ago. I think pretty hard about going over there just because I could have started out more per hour versus what I am here for 5 years and get 100% paid insurance, which is I still believe with Blue Cross. It's 100% on single. But not family, you got family.
Yeah, single family.
And it seems to be more and more the standard, but when the insurance jumped, it's a lot in the last 10 years. I think single plan 10 years ago was $263. What else? 800 something. So, you know, yeah.
Well, I've been an advocate because I've had a family all my life. And when I started as a commissioner, I always asked for more raise on the family side because whoever said, well, you're paying $700 out of your pocket. And take that out of the wages for $14, $15 an hour. And it becomes, you know, you're losing what you're making. Bringing you back to where you're living.
Well, and you throw in a car payment, house payment, kids going to school, you know, I mean, and that's, you know, that's the biggest reason why I really believe that when people look at this situation, they look at the starting wages, and then they go figure that in. It's like they're going backwards, so they're just, you know, common sense says that's not the place to be.
I think anybody that does the interviews lately for new employees has said something, no matter what department we're talking about, they're looking at that, and that becomes a big factor.
You know, 19, 20 bucks an hour, you know, on a situation like that's getting by.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm trying to say here, so, yeah.
Any more questions? Commission?
Appreciate your input.
Bryce and Steve. Bryce? Steve? You got any more?
I got two things in mind. I'll just wait.
Okay. Well, give it one more chance, guys. Anything else? I mean, just like I said, I don't really care if you don't mind if we're not doing this or my co-partner's not doing that. There's nothing for here.
Just really appreciate you giving us this opportunity. In my opinion, I want to say I appreciate you guys showing up, because I'm tearing my heads off.
There was no plan of doing that anyway. We just wanted some questions and answers.
Yeah,
All we wanted.
We're
not like the public.
We don't get to hear.
That's when we sit on the other side when we get that.
Yeah. I wasn't out here for that one.
Oh, yeah, you missed it.
I didn't want to.
I got some.
I just want to make a statement. You guys are talking about looking at the job descriptions. You know, and for the longest time, you know, it was a rumor the oil can or oil distributor or the crane was the line for operator 3. I just think if you guys are going to relook at it, you guys might find a different way around for people to get to operator 3. Because there's people that, you know, if you got 2 pieces of equipment, that might be the 2 pieces of equipment. We've got plenty of people to run. And so they never had that opportunity to make it to operator 3 because we've got 10 people that can run that machine. Why do we need you to? You know?
Nothing solid, but I think it's been kicked around the room. You know, we've had a lot of work sessions lately. But we have talked about maybe moving that out or having it more like a shift differential or, you know, or CDL in the same case. CDL would be more of a shift differential.
I always felt like with the crane, if you got 2 or 3 people qualified to run it, they should, when you're using that crane, they should get paid exceptionally well for that day or 2 they run it. And then they go back to their regular pay.
Like
So that way the crane is kind of kept separate.
Like a shift.
Yeah, kept separate, keep it out of that three, because you only, I've been around the crane enough, you only want a certain people running it. You don't want the whole group, because it's an art, it takes basically two people, one to run and one for hand signals. And you can put a lot of trust in two people when you're doing the run.
And I don't mean, those two pieces of equipment, I mean, just using that for an example, you might have a guy big on shooting, who, he's out in his grader, so he doesn't always have an opportunity to jump into some piece of equipment that we only use 5-6 times a year or something. He should still be able to have that opportunity to try and advance to another job title without having to worry about, there's 3 pieces of equipment on this, this list that I don't have an opportunity to run because while those pieces are being run, I have to run the grader, I've run the grader on that, possibly that same project. I just want to stay, if you guys cannot do it, stay away from picking one, a certain piece of equipment, but get more of a number of equipment possibly. If they can run 3 or 5 or something, opposed to narrowing down to 1 or 2 pieces of equipment.
Let me ask you one more question since we talked about truck driving 16. Is this truck driving and grader operating, is it a fair wage at 18, 17, 19?
One guy north of town was asked that and everything, and he said he wouldn't do it for 20 bucks an hour. And you got me out there making my own decisions for the most part. If I have a tough decision, yes, I call Steve or Bryce. But, if I need any help. But my day-to-day decisions have to come from me. And, that's why I say my expertise isn't worth anything after 15, 16 years. Like they said, you put somebody in there new, you train them from start one. So.
Or you can lean on us to train.
Yeah.
And they're gonna make the same wage.
Yeah.
The what?
Or you can lean on us to train them, and they're gonna make the same wage off the start, and we're gonna train them. Doesn't that bring some value to what we do maybe? I don't know.
And
Just like Mark and I, we started the same day. We started on the cover crew. We've been in dump trucks, worked up line hour and graders. So, you're sitting there talking about different, operators. Yeah, we haven't been in a backhoe maybe for a while, so.
but how, you only got 2 backhoes?
Yeah.
You got track of 2 backhoes.
And they're usually up here in Marion, so, where we're
We
out
don't
on
give them
fringes.
out here?
No, I never seen any of that stuff.
Bryce, let's improve on that. That's it, okay. That's a standard joke. Wait, no. Yeah.
So when you do hire a new hire, how long is the probation period? And if they hire in as all these, I'm qualified to run this equipment, this equipment, this equipment. When they come in, they tell you that on the application. Do they work with someone to prove that they can run each piece of equipment that they put on their application to know for sure that they can run that equipment?
That's a question for Bryce.
Well, honestly, that's a very difficult question even for me, because when you look at somebody and they fill out an application, say, yeah, I've ran all this equipment. Yeah, but can you operate it? That's something that when we hire them, we can set that up to say, hey, we're actually going to test you. And one of the toughest things you can do with new employees is put them out with somebody that's really, it's not the toughest thing, but one of the best things is put them out with somebody that actually knows how to operate that equipment. Now, I don't know for sure what the requirements are as far as new employees, because we used to have that first step as probationary period of 6 months. Do we still have that? We always have the option of, when we find out people can't do what they said they could, get rid of them, or whatever else. But yeah, it's just like anybody else. You got other people say, I've worked on the farm all my life. Okay, so where does that put you? I mean, I would first say that probably gives you a good work ethic working for yourself, but have you ran the equipment that you would need to do this job? So the other thing that's tough about that is called references. References will tell you, I think, a lot, as much as anything, what people have been. Yeah, trust me, that's not an easy spot for me to try to find either. So I'd love to get to the point to where that was the deciding factor if we had 12 people apply, you know, but, so.
Any final questions from the commission?
I might get destroyed with this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Is anybody in here happy with what action we took on the new grade line? Content.
They didn't have no extra throw-ins.
So everybody is.
The only part I
Everybody
see that's
is
a
like-
benefit is that I think the old pay plan took 40 years to max out or something, and this one's halfway realistic. If you started in your 30s at least.
I was just trying to weigh out if this was a complete disaster for this department, where it might have been something good for other departments. It just didn't work.
Well, you guys adjusted my pay to my title, so honestly, I'm fairly content at the moment. That's why I'm trying to stay a whole lot quieter, is because there's people with, you know, bigger concerns. You know, I just wanted to hear how it was gonna play out. You know, so honestly, on my part, I'm okay, but on the same note, I've benefited quite a bit from your guys' changing the pay plan, so.
Just wonder if it hurt everybody or if it helped anybody.
Some of the other stuff has been, we've always talked about a step raise, but then the step raise, a lot of times either eaten up by insurance or just sometimes just don't happen. Sometimes that plays into it too, you know, I mean, we're maybe asking the question, is the step raise gonna happen in July? And if not, did we gain anything? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. The insurance thing really makes a lot too. Now I wasn't texting anybody, I was actually doing numbers.
Oh.
So.
Insurance is for family people. I don't know about the single, because I've never been in that person's shoes. But family plan, I know what that's like, and I've had 2 or 3 different ones, and had different shares. I worked for the city of Peabody for $5.50 an hour when so, you know, and their insurance then was only $250, I think, on the family plan.
Did you make better money then than what you do now, making better wage?
No.
Things are cheaper.
They've changed since then, yes.
That's the bad thing about that.
But I was comparing the wage, that's what I was trying to say. I think my family plan when I worked for the city was 250 or so. But it did just what you guys are talking about. When you make some money, it takes it out of here because you got paid for insurance.
I started out in the wrong company. I thought you were a lot older, and I started out at $3.25 an hour working with no benefits when I have grain bins, so.
That wasn't, well, I started out a lot less than that, and I think anybody at my age started out a lot less than that too. I was making railroad wage and went to $5.50, so I know what cut and pay is. But anyway.
I didn't really want to jump into that match, but.
So.
I started off as a waiter, so.
Oh.
Yeah. I had to make it all up on tips.
Grocery store, yeah, that's why you went to hospital.
There's a lot of upset because there's such a range.
Well, I think that's
I mean,
more
even in a
tight.
serious operator's fee, it's a pretty good range. I got lucky, I'll admit that. Diane flat said it, so I took her up on it. So, now, I was hoping by doing that, get everybody up, but
I think that's why he just asked that question. Just what about pay plan? That's what we.
all
we
it's
want to hear
doing
about.
is just turning everybody against each other, and it's like, it ain't.
Yeah, we don't need that.
This,
You guys got a hard enough job as it is.
Years ago, when I first started, Fort County was fun. We had a good time. Now you got everybody with their phones out going, what's he doing over there? And the social media is killing us. And they just think they can blow us up on Facebook.
We had social media turned in, and this one of our employees here not too long ago. They
And,
actually sent it
I
out.
mean, 9 times out of 10, if they would just stop and ask the grader guy, what are you doing? Well, I'll be right back tomorrow to fix it. I mean, it's rough tonight, tomorrow. But they don't. They just get on their high horse and say, I'm bigger than you.
Like I always say, there's 12,000 residents in Marion County, I have 11,999 losses.
But it's
That's
just,
the way it is.
it's sad that we can't.
Do you have business cards to hand out for rock?
Business cards for what?
Yeah, so when you get stopped to ask for rock on the road, that we can hand it to.
There's one thing that I miss and we don't have the employees even do it, is the radio system. It used to, your grader operators call in for loader rock, spot rock and stuff. That's a lost art anymore. I mean, but we don't have the people to do that right now. And Troy back there, he'd go 40
He's
minutes.
got a lot of rock to haul.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be sitting here right now.
And then if we go to contractor rock, it's just, how do we do it? Exactly, you're right. I mean, and we did have 8 trucks, we're down now. But, you know, we was buying one new one every other year, so we try to keep our fleet up. So, but we had commissioners that didn't like that too, so, but that's what it is. Anyway, we'd love to have trucks that be able to haul rock, one way or the other.
We got it to contract truck, you're still gonna have to have a few of your own trucks.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I guess.
You're still gonna have to have a few.
Do we easily contract rock? Or what the county wants it for?
No. Well,
Depends on what you're hauling. That's why Dave still was running a big truck. I mean, that's a complaint that's pretty easy to figure out. When we're sending a single truck clear for sand down there, when he can have a truck in the pump, or even if we go to a 25-ton belly dump.
Are you contracting him back and making money, saving money?
I'm just saying.
I think if you haul it from way out of county, a 25-ton load, if you go and dump it on the road, and spread it right away, you could probably make it work, but when you bring it in and stockpile it, and then we gotta go out there to load another truck and haul it off, then you're getting more money back.
double touch always costs you more.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, that brings up a good question. We've got some hard rock sitting around, instead of here also. Do we take and, you don't like that process apparently? Like where we have the hard rock out here available to give. Because it
Well,
does.
that's fine having it in different locations like that, make a short haul, but you're touching it again and you're adding more money to it.
Correct,
That's my thing. I don't,
Well, the hard rock isn't doing any good if it's on a road that hasn't been rebuilt. Look at Pawnee, or what we call the Hall Road, east of Peabody. That needs rebuilt. We dumped hard rock down there, it needs rock again, and it hasn't been a year.
We've got a job to do, and we try to do our best at it. But we got to, you might hear this.
Because on a road like that, you might put cheap rock on and take twice as much. So,
Commissioners, you want to ask any final questions? We're adjourning the meeting, what's up?
Well, I'm more of a listener, but I've been appreciating the comments and learning. I really felt good last spring when we did the pay plan. I thought we were really moving forward. And of course, ever since then, we found out maybe it hasn't done everything we accomplished or what we hoped to accomplish with it. A lot of that is the outside forces. Every one of you know what's happened the past year and a half. And our plan is already 2 years behind. You know, we were 2 years behind when we started, behind me. And I've always said that our section men are the most, don't get upset, Travis, but our section men probably make more money for the county than anybody, or can break the county faster than anybody. Because we gotta take care of the roads. And you can just see it after the torrential rains you've gone through the past couple of years. You know, you guys, it's been full time just catching up. with the weather that you've been battling, much less making progress. But yet, I have people tell me the county's making progress. So that means you guys are doing a good job. Now it's gonna be our job to make sure you're fairly compensated for that work. So if we can do something through the objective plan, through job descriptions, look at some of the other ideas that come up, and try to make some adjustments, we're gonna take the input you provided and try to come up with something. But you are appreciated. Thank you.
You are. I mean, a lot of people don't, and I agree with Boyle, because a lot of people aren't afraid to pay some taxes as long as they get something. And the way you know you got something is seeing a road bridge. It's an easy one to account for. They see, they know that their taxes went to something.
And I'd have to agree with Jeff over there. No matter what we do, some of the people that won't put their name in the hat for information won't say too much until they just catch you on the street and say, you know, you ain't worth the shit. That's exactly what I said.
I've had so many people tell me they won't run a grader because they don't want to get a pitch.
Yeah, it's
And
just
I'm
sad.
sitting there
Those kind of
going,
people, those kind of people, I just wish they'd go on by me when they
So
say,
yeah, they could probably run that grader 10 times better.
so, yeah.
Until you get
Several of them probably can.
Running a truck that way, then people always smile at you, wave when they see the truck coming around.
And believe me, I know all five of us, all three of us, when there's three, catch that kind of comment, and we don't like it. We don't care that way, because we don't feel that way.
And the thing is, there's a lot of people here that complains about it. They ain't going anywhere but there with, you know, I used to bounce around this county more than a lot of people in this county, but I bounce around this county a lot more than I ever did then. And I see what you guys do from here to there, and it's,
Everybody's road is the most important one in the county.
and you gotta try to tell them, oh, you should go look at this, look at the work they did over here. And, well, that ain't my.
The last thing that this commission wants to do, wants to treat you guys right. There's clerks, there's ambulance, there's all kinds of other departments that we want to treat them just as well as we treat you guys do. So, the demand is, from the outside world, is there. And like Dave said, I think, we think, you know, people don't mind paying sometimes if they get a result. That's, go with that. Final comments? Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Kent, second. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.